we had a very important guest. Of course, not in the first instance, we don't come. Hopefully, it's like second come, we do come. So we bring them under social media review. I mean, I know other than Mr. Kaifala, the ACC boss. So with me tonight, now this place will be, of course, the chief host, Fadima Savage, and then we other panel member, Mr. Salone, with an attorney. Now they say I don't need it now by God power. He gave for continue for them with we. So before I bring them in, let them start the ball rolling right away. I want to appeal to the audience. The law understands Mr. Kaifala coming here. That it be big honor. Believe me, we don't extend a lot of invitation to other people in our camp. So we'd expect, an atmosphere of camaraderie, friendship. I mean, we ask all the questions there, but we are not understanding that very senior official at Salone. So therefore, accord them all the protocols and way they say that. I mean, we're not in a combat zone. Also, there's great possibility we go open the line, but for just 1 minute, we not go exceed that 1 minute for questioning, so that no one will be part. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, great pleasure and privilege for being here today. So we'll start the session right away. So the first person we are bringing the lead host with Madam Fadima for let's start the question. He will ask the first and second. First question. Then if he get a follow up, he go to. So you get 2 questions the first, one the main question and a follow up. Now, Ms. Fadima, please to you.
My people, good afternoon. Again, we there with another edition of Social Media Review, and we want to say thank you to the commissioner. We don't join for local much on this corruption business as Salone. I know say Bokupa wanna get questions, but if we listen to them, we go learn new things that we will not know, and what we not be understand, what not clear, it go help we for clarify. So first of all, Mr. Kaifala, thank you very much, sir, for where you honor the invitation for can join with, for can help we understand what in they go on and how you departments they go. 2 years ago, we see say you celebrate last month 2 years in office. And 2 years in office, there's a video going around of a lot of Sierra Leoneans giving you kudos and praising, the work where you they do. And you find where people that they do work, then gets accolades from people them we go say I'm doing well and for continue for do well. We also see your reports from the Afrobarometer. You say it go up 66% and the other one go up 79%, and because they believe say Salone very transparent at this time. So I want to let you just quickly summarize, your office in 2 years, waiting now the difficult times and the hard times where you get, and also how you overcome them, and waiting at the good thing, then quick, briefly, what your office don't do so far in 2 years. For later one, they will not know able for understand, sir.
Thank you, Madam Fadima. Thank you, Mr. Kutubukuruma. Of course, you and I always engage on issues, and I'm very happy as well for Mr. Salone, the lawyer, where they join me for getting conversation. I'm always happy for joining conversations then, particularly when they're progressive. The purpose now for push the interest of Sierra Leone go forward. 2 years in office as ACC commissioner, don't see a lot of things happen. I remember, I think about 1 year in office, I've been given another interview, not so?
Yes, sir.
And basically what has happened in these 2 years, I come in at a time when there was a transition, a new government came into power, and the president thought it fit that me for lead the fight against corruption, which I graciously accepted and did. We don't build the fight against corruption on the pillars of public education, investigation, prosecution, and of course prevention. Them pillars, and we don't deploy a lot of strategies, we don't deploy a lot of tools, and all of them begin for yield results within the shortest possible time. When I come into office, they get certain things they want to tell me, say these are the things I hope to achieve in 3 years. Some of them were achieved under 1 year. Almost all of them have been achieved in 2 years. But we still get about 3 years for go and tenure, and we get a lot of things to do. And in doing that, for example, Investigations have been expanded. We have more investigations happening than ever before. We have more cases being concluded than ever before. Prosecution-wise, we get a very high conviction rate. Out of 36 cases which concluded in court, we have 30 convictions and we only lost 6 in 2 years, which is a very appreciable result as far as that is concerned. In terms of prevention, we are doing a lot more systems and processes review in the various MDAs, just to make sure say we do not fight corruption as a fire brigade kind of approach. When there is fire, that is the time we come in, the ambulances come in. No, we deploy the extinguishers now so that things don't get out of hand. And that is why if you follow the system, they put a lot of press releases, task force for COVID, task force for examination malpractice, task force for various things, but also we get the prevention department where they go into them ministries, department and agencies, they review the systems them and point out areas them who we can call in corruption control, opportunities for corruption. Anything when an incentive or opportunities for corruption, we identify them there, and then we give recommendations to solve them. And if somebody not follow them, we get actions that we think with powers who can take. But by and large, almost all the time we have done it, it don't take root. As we do all of this, we're not a grade we serve. We get various institutions, then global institutions, local institutions, then where they monitor what they do, where they capture the perception, where they catch what they do. And since I came into power, Sierra Leone has scored in margins which have never existed before, which have never been before. For example, the last time I spoke with you here, when I came into office, the MCC Control of Corruption scorecard, Sierra Leone was 49% when I came into office. That went to 79% by the end of 2018, coming to 2019. I remember when I was on this forum, and we were discussing that some of the actions they will take lead to that result. There was somebody on this forum who was arguing very strongly that it cannot be because of what we have done and things like that. Okay, for argument's sake, it's by neither here nor there. I'm not ready to argue about that. And when I remember I talked about it, they say I'm not here to take credit. I prefer for the country to take credit. But going beyond that, we were arguing at that time when we were at 79%. Now we sit comfortably when we are 71%. Now, because of the efforts they will put in, the MCC Control of Corruption scorecard has gone as high up as 79% in 2019. And they tell you again from the grapevine that the next one which is going to come out is going to go even higher, because I already know what is happening on the background in that regard, and Sierra Leone is going to score. So Sierra Leone is among the performer of performers when it comes to the fight against corruption in Africa. We are among the top 10 percentile in the MCC Control of Corruption scorecard. If you come on MCC Control of Corruption scorecard, you also come to Approve Barometer. You find out that, for example, in 2017, the scorecard government effort in the fight against corruption was low. I'm sure it was somewhere around 57%. Perception was very low. Perception of the public when it comes to government efforts in the fight against corruption was also probably as low as 19% in some other scorecards. Now all those things are high. We have about 66% when it comes to government effort in the fight against corruption, which shows that people are appreciating what we are doing. Transparency International scorecard, which is different from our Approve Barometer. Transparency, we call it the CPI, the Corruption Perception Index. Now, when I came in, Sierra Leone was at 131. First, it moved to 130 in 2018, at the end of 2018. After 2018, in 2019, we jumped 10 places from 130 to 119. That means we covered 10 other countries who were ahead of us by the time we ended 2019. And also, remarkably with the CPI, Sierra Leone scored the highest score ever, because they get a ranking, which is the country ranking, then you also get a score where they get. Sierra Leone had the highest score ever, which is 33%. We have never got that kind of score. There are many, even the local institutions who are measuring corruption. For example, recently there's the PFM consortium, which did a review of corruption perception in the country. In 2017, when the similar review was done, The people's confidence in the Anti-Corruption Commission was 19%. Now it is as high as 92%. Over 81% of those citizens also believe that the Anti-Corruption Commission is the most credible institution to deal with corruption issues. But generally, in that local corruption perception survey that was done, what came out clear is that the people show that there has been a remarkable progress in several areas, sectors, when it comes to corruption control. The police, judiciary, how people view what is happening, how bribery has reduced. All those things have come together. So basically, there is a lot to talk about in terms of what we have done in these 2 years. Even I didn't expect us to be where we are today in just 2 years. But that is because of the conscientious effort that all of us are putting in. And this is not just about me, Francis Ben Kaifala. It's about the staff of the ACC. It's about the government giving the right platform for us to be able to do what we are. It's about all of you, your voices you are putting in. The politicians are listening. Those acting in governance are listening. And the right tools and systems are being deployed. And I am grateful that I am taking leadership in ensuring that. So basically, the 2 years have been this. In terms of challenges, we continue to have challenges with manpower. The entire ACC staff is 205 staff for the entire country. By the time you remove the auxiliary staff, you mean cleaners, security personnel, admin assistants, and all these kinds of people, you are left with about core 60 staff that are supposed to do the core competencies of the ACC. That is a challenge. We get challenged with resources. We get challenged with vehicles. We get challenged with a lot of logistics to be able to do work. We are not as mechanized. We are not as automated as we want to be. We are not deploying these tools there because, you see, for example, when it comes to prevention, prevention is not cheap. Just one software that can prevent corruption can cost $1 million or less. But these things are, we look at the economy, we look at what is happening, we cannot box beyond our level. So we understand the government too is trying, we cannot go and put something on them which they cannot afford when there are many other things they have to take care of. But prevention is not cheap, and we want to do more with prevention, but because the resources are not there, we are not capable of doing it. So Fatima, I will hold up there and any questions that come up.
So with the 3 Ps that you talk about, the prevention, the prosecution, and the public education, and now you don't already say, you've already said that government does not have the finance to support you because you are limited staff. And I know, say, when you come into office, you advocate for, make the conditions of service right for the people so that they go do a better job, which is increase insurance and all the other stuff they do. But how will we win corruption when we not get a budget that is big enough for fight the corruption? Because the problem we have with all the other stuff is because of the root cause is corruption. So how, you go reach the desired change with this little bit of thing that you have? How will you reach the desired change that you're looking for? Yes, we don't see this change, which is very, very good, what you don't do so far in 2 years. But how going forward? The desired change of your office, you need more people, you need more resources. How will that happen when the government is struggling?
Look, Marima, you see, I am a pragmatist, okay? Trust me, when I came to the ACC, my intention has always been and remains to make the ACC the most powerful anti-corruption outfit in Africa. With the little resources we have, the gains we don't make, the gains we have made in this short time, other countries in Africa are admiring, they cannot believe. The changes that we have brought, the rapid progress we have made globally is something they are looking at. However, I am a pragmatist. I know how the country is right now. The revenue base is so low. The resources that are available to government is like a system where you have everything is almost close to zero. And everybody is trying to bring it up. We are only queuing in that line. We are queuing in that line to be able to benefit from it. So the government is doing its own best. One thing I can tell you is, since I have come at the ACC, the resources that should make us function have always been provided by the government. And whenever I have gone to them to say, this is their situation, for example, when I wanted to open an office in Port Loko, we did not have an office. As a new provincial HQ, I went and said this was not in the budget, but I really need to do this so that we can have a balance. We have 3 offices in the southeast, We need similarly to cover that in the north. The government gave me 1 billion euros extension for me to be able to open that office. So what I can say is, it is all the reason why we are fighting corruption, to make sure that resources are there for those essential functions of government to happen without having to strain itself like we are doing now. So I am not sitting down waiting for government to give us 100% what we need to fight corruption to produce results. What I am doing is to work with them to provide what they can provide, and I now manage it in a way that I'll be able to succeed. So that is what I have done. Even staff welfare, for example, every problem that I met at the ACC when it came with staff welfare, I have worked with the staff welfare committee in the institution. We have solved all of them. They did not have insurance. I have made sure that they have risk insurance for working for a risky outfit like the ACC for now. Every staff that did not have promotion, one way or the other, we have introduced systems that at least promote them, either officially promoting them from one grade to another, or developing them when it comes to what we call notches, so that at least there can be some improvement for the several years they have worked in the ACC. So basically, we are doing that, and the government has been able to.
Thank you. I want to let Mr. Shilon pick up on that with a question, and let's see if he will make a follow-up on that. Mr. Shilon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kuruma. And Mr. Kaifala, you are an extremely impressive, well-educated, progressive. All I've heard about you, young man. And in fact, I'm impressed with your baby face looks.
Thank you.
So, but as a follow-up to what Ms. Fadima had to say, one understands the vigor with which you want to pursue corruption. And I know you mentioned the word powerful governmental organization, but I also think in addition to being powerful, you may want to add efficiency, which I'm sure goes without saying. Now, you remind me of an athlete who has the highest of competitive spirit, who has all determination to win, but is lacking in what it takes in terms of equipment and necessities to achieve your goal. So to me, as a follow-up to Ms. Fadima, based upon what you just said, that government doesn't have the necessary financial resources to give you all you need, I will hope that you go prioritize that the government gives not what they think you need, but what you know you need to make the goal of, I don't believe corruption will be completely eradicated. It's almost an impossibility, but it may be minimized to such an extent that it may also appear to be in existence. I think that would be a more realistic goal.
Yes, I agree with you, and that is exactly what we are doing. We have always gone to government and given them a budget. For example, last year when we gave a budget, even that was taken into consideration was minimal. We gave a budget of one thing. I think it was, we asked for recurrent expenditure, like what you need for the whole day-to-day running of the ACC. We asked about 8.5 billion euros, for example. The government cut it down and approved only about 5.5 billion. But we went back to them and made a case, and they were able to approve some extension of that. I think they approved a further 2 billion euros. So I am trying to employ a strategy that does not become confrontational, to keep my eyes on the ball, but also try to do what I can to have what I should to be able to lead the fight against corruption and continue to produce the results for the country. For example, vehicles, the entire ACC. In fact, recently, we had only 7 vehicles for the entire ACC operations. I have to make a case for us to have some money, even that we got about 1 billion euros. just one brand new vehicle was going to take all that money. We had to write to the NPPA for approval for us to buy 3 second-hand vehicles with that money. And NPPA gave the approval. We bought 3 second-hand vehicles for us to use, which took our vehicle fleet from 7 to about 9. So is that kind of management approach I am taking to things? Because I don't want to become despondent. I don't want to become dispirited. I have 5 years to produce results. If I sit down crying over budget and I don't produce the result, nobody is going to remember that. They are going to remember that when Kaifala came and he did not do much. So I have to manage all these so that we can continue to produce results for the country. Well, I take your point and I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and if I may follow up, I see a quote of yours in which you said, when one fights corruption, corruption fights back. So you have to jointly fight it back. And you also say you are motivated with the feeling of wanting to do good and be good. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Now, and everything I've read about you, and I know about you, your story from high school to college to professional school has been consistently looking for beyond yourself with a nationalistic approach of trying to do good, as you say. Because sometimes people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. But all the indications are you talk the talk and you walk the walk. Now, having said that, if I may digress a little bit, with respect to prosecution of cases in courts, I see some cases people settle with you on monetary basis, and that closes that case. There are some cases that you people say settlement is not enough. You have to go to trial. So my question is, what are the criteria for going to trial?
Good.
And what are the criteria in which just settling financially is sufficient?
Yes, I remember the last time I came on here again, Madam Padima, and we discussed this at length, and it has always been a very topical issue of my tenure as Commissioner of the ACC. Let me put it this way. The ACC is governed by instruments. So, for example, we are governed by UNCAC. The UNCAC is the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. And that convention clearly states that the fight against corruption cannot be only criminal. It has to apply different ways of doing things to produce results. And one of them is to apply some form of civil means to produce results, to also apply criminal approach to produce results, but also to apply administrative approaches to produce results. Going beyond that, before I became commissioner, I met a system that goes way back to the days of Abdul Tijan Code, which Joseph Kamara came and followed up, which Adi Macaulay came and followed up, whereby there are cases which, in the opinion of the commissioner, do not need to go to court. You can decide that this is a case that is appropriate for recovery instead of going to court. And it is accepted. And I've always said that, for example, there is something, if you Google now, non-conviction based asset forfeiture, or you Google non-conviction based asset recovery, you will see a world of information about it. In fact, it's the strongest way of fighting corruption all over the world. For example, in Nigeria, when Sani Abacha looted the country and died, there were people who were involved in the money leaving the country. Those monies left institutions, but the focus was on the asset, not the individual. So what I have done is not new, first of all. It was done by all commissioners before me. The only reason that is so topical is that the volume which I have been able to do it is huge. And that is because, of course, the volume of everything that we are doing at the ACC now is bigger. So we take a decision. A case has been investigated. There are times when we look at the clogging in court. Now we have set up the special court for corruption. with 5 dedicated judges who are sitting there. That is why it is a long time you've not heard of us entering into any form of settlement. But before that, our cases used to clog up in court like any other cases. They would clog up behind the land cases, the nuisance cases, all other criminal cases, including rape and incest cases, basically before the same judge. So our cases used to take 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. We have some cases which are still in court that we are charging as way back as 2008. The reason why we take that decision is threefold. One, we want to reduce the workload that goes to court. We look at the evidence. If this evidence is so straightforward that there is no reason to go to court, and the person involved is presented with the evidence and he says, I am ready to pay back. Instead of going to court to take 5 years, 6 years prosecuting, we cut the loss of the country because prosecution is expensive. And that is also, you are taking a risk with the judiciary. Kutubu Kroma makes all kinds of audios about the judiciary. I will not comment about that. But all I can say is we are still facing challenge with the judiciary. So we are taking a risk going there in the first place, no matter how the evidence is straightforward and strong. So I, fighting corruption, have to take a decision as to if I can recover and cut the country's loss. Like I have done, we have recovered nearly 25 billion euros in these 2 years. Why not? Let me give you a statistics, for example. In 2018, we had 18 convictions. Of those 18 convictions, the total fine that was imposed by the judiciary was 138 million euros. 138 million euros in total for 18 convictions. In the same 2018, we had less than 10 settlements. In those 10 settlements, we recovered over 10 billion euros. Which is more efficient for the country? To go after convictions that will give 138 million euros at the end of the year, or something that gives us over 10 billion euros at the end of the year? These are all considerations as someone leading the fight against corruption I have to take. There are times also we do the investigation. We know that there is corruption here, but the evidence is unreliable. So, for example, we investigated NIA. We found out that they were carding. They were putting cards on their receipts, writing numbers on it, and making sure that they get the bulk of the money and very little amount goes to the government at the end of the day. Clear, unquestionable. But that evidence, if you take it to court, the receipts cannot even be read. You cannot even tell what is there. If I, as Anti-Corruption Commissioner, charge that matter to court, I will lose. Not because corruption did not take place, but because the evidence is unreliable. And in court, no matter what it is, you have to prove your case beyond all reasonable doubt. So if I know that this is a case that could pose a problem with beyond all reasonable doubt, but I also confront the person who has committed the corruption and says, yes, I agree, Mr. Commissioner. I think I have atoned for my wrong. I'm ready to pay back to the government. I will take it and then recommend administrative action against that person to the institution. Instead of being foolhardy and charge that person to court and lose anyway. So these are all the considerations that come together. The decision making is simple. The investigation is done without any interference of the commissioner. After the investigation, the investigators make the report. The report comes to the commissioner. That report goes to the prosecutors. The prosecutors look at it, and sometimes they advise that the way we look at this case, we should not go to court with it. We should do recovery. Sometimes they will say, let us prosecute. The evidence is too strong. There is no reason for us to do recovery. Once it comes, I call the deputy commissioner, and sometimes I call the management. We look at the situation, and we take a decision based on the recommendation of the professionals who have investigated the case at the investigation level, and the lawyers who have given an opinion, which is always recorded on the file. We take a decision, and then we go on with it. So basically,
thank you so much on this. As I go to Fadima, I want to see if you can take this corruption fight in another angle. Also, you look at Wataki, you look at other areas and they again, the teacher and business.
No, in fact, we don't know Wataki. As I speak with you, there are 2 cases being prosecuted.
And see what you're going to do.
We get 2 cases right now within our court about Wataki. Scorpio Squadron raid Wataki many times. We are doing it. The problem we get is Wataki is one of those areas where first you now say you get a standing manpower on their head every day, which we cannot do because we cannot, when we do that, we institutionalize ourselves inside it. And me as commissioner going to take a risk because it's easy for the wrongs that happen there to permeate down to my own staff. And I cannot say 100% I can guard against that. So what we do is we act on complaints and reports that come. But one thing we know that the reviews we are getting that from there is there things have improved a lot because of the actions they will take, and will continue to take action in that regard. But we are definitely looking into Wataki. Even the president one time called me and tell me, say, Mr. Kaifala, you have to help me fix the Wataki. And I told him that, yes, we are working on Wataki. Our intelligence is always surveillance in Wataki, and when issues come up. The problem with the girls Wataki is that businessmen don't like complaining. They prefer to go grumble. They prefer to go to social media and talk. If you call and now say, come with the evidence where you get, who that you talk to, who that you bribe, come let we look into them so that we go prosecute. Even when we prosecute, I remember one of the cases we prosecute. The one fellow, for go serve as witness, it takes 3 weeks to look for him. He said, no, I'm going to give evidence. They will kill and done our Wataki. So these are all difficulties that we get, but for say we are looking into every sector of the Sierra Leonean life, public life, when it comes to the fight against corruption right now. There is no sector who they look and say this why you with the wait force. No.
Okay.
Because we have intelligence, we act.
Mr. Yeah.
Farima.
Mr. Ben Kaifala getting Scorpion Squad. And then 4 days ago, we seen a Twitter feed where you could say you Scorpion Squad done ready with the task force of, the examination malpractice fraud and all that in there. But then in September, you say the app forfeits the thing. We see an incident where happen, a strategy where you use in September towards the teachers, them, where you Scorpion Squad, go catch them on hand, right there on the spot, then they sell paper or do malpractice, with the examination process. And your strategy was to put them out, cutting tree in September and shame them. A lot of Sierra Leoneans say that was not the process. If I've been go through the process, even the president of Salone, we give you the job, come out and apologize for that, for the teachers and for the humiliation. So I want to understand your strategy. I'm not saying you mean well, but what team will lead you for say that strategy they go work for this particular situation?
Thank you for that question. You see, one thing where we get problem with Salone is when we give people responsibilities, we should also understand that they have to take decisions that are optimal for the good of the country. May not be the most popular. It may well be something which the country does not accept. But of course, if we were going by popular views, slavery was going to be right once. There are many things would have been right today. Women were not voting until recently in many countries that we call civilized today. But decisions had to be taken that were not popular, but were optimal for the good of the country. So when I took over as commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission, I never ever thought that I was going to have any role to play with regard to examination malpractice. When I became commissioner, my focus was to go after government officials, public officials who are engaging in corruption, things like that. But what happened was I was shocked at the intelligence that I was receiving. And some of the intelligence was so cogent that I myself, I was added in WhatsApp groups where examination questions were being sold 5 days before the exam. Teachers on a mass scale across the country had rings. Principals were arranging with their students. Parents were paying principals that they come, that they give them money and say, with this exam, when they come principal, we pick them, put them in a special room. They already have ready-made teachers sitting down there, ready to answer mathematics, English, and history questions for them. All they have to do is to reproduce them and to submit. And they were doing so in collusion with WAEC officers. They were doing so in collusion with teachers, principals. So there was a massive decay, underlying decay, which the country was not aware of. Before September, I think it was sometime in January, I think it was sometime back, the first raid we did was when we caught 78 students taking WAS exams at 11 p.m. at night. I don't know if any of you remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
When we caught those students taking the exam, we went to WAEC. We found out that the problem was in the script room. Because the WAEC officials were taking these exam papers, they will go, the student will write Francis Ben Kaifala, general science, what is science, say science is, and they just left us so. At night, then they now go, the WAEC people, they know they return, because there was a time, there should be a return time. Therefore, return the papers, then let's say we exam done at 11, at 12 o'clock, therefore return the papers by 3 o'clock. They know they return them. Sometimes they don't return them in 3-4 days. So they create an opportunity where the very students, and now they go sit down under the supervision of teachers, principals, and college students. They now answer them questions there. They put them back inside the package and can go back to WAEC. So went to WAEC and told them, this is a problem. After we did our report, which I wrote and copied every stakeholder in the examinations, in the education sector, from the chief minister coming down, to the minister of education, to the head of the tertiary institutions, the teaching service commission, all of them. We said this is the problem WAEC has to be looked into. WAEC, the head of WAEC left Ghana and came to Sierra Leone, went to my office, sat in my office and said I should hands off. That they understand the problem, that they will solve it. So that is how we did not do anything. We left them hoping that they would have solved the problem. I had meetings with the head of WAEC then, who has now been removed, in my office where we discussed this issue. Going down the line, we came down to September, we found out that what was happening was even worse than what we imagined. I don't know whether I have deleted some of the WhatsApp groups in my phone, but the scale at which students were not even studying, teachers were answering questions. For example, you will have English language tomorrow morning. The teachers will answer from question 1 to question 60, AA, BB, CC, DD, AAA, and share it there. So the students go in the examination hall, they give money to the supervisors, and their mobile phones are practically held like this, and they still answer AA, BB, CC, DD. And these people have access to the universities. Nobody was doing something about it. I had written, so when we got these people red-handed, we thought that we have to make the people feel what is happening. And don't forget, 2 weeks before that raid that happened in September, the vice president launched a strategy. That strategy was not developed by Francis Ben Kaifala. The strategy was developed by Sierra Leoneans. We got people like Bandura Edwin, Patutaki, a lot of people, Mr. Kamanda, we put them together, experts, they all sat down, Augustine Mara, all of them sat down, they developed this strategy, and they said that the ACC is failing because the ACC is not enforcing. The ACC is not using its power well. The ACC is basically like a processing plant. It's not doing anything. So in that strategy, enforcement was made central to the work of the ACC. They said we have to go. The vice president launched it 2 weeks earlier. The first case that came to us where we caught people red-handed in corruption. That is why when they were saying that I did it because it was teachers, it was funny. Because that was the first case after the new strategy. We said we have to take more robust steps against corruption that came. If a strategy said we must take robust steps, we now are in charge of creating the tactics that can bring into effect the strategy. And that is why we said, okay, since we got these people red-handed, it seems people are not understanding what is happening with the fight against examination malpractice. Let us just introduce them to the population, let them see for themselves that these are teachers, they are not just any other person. These are principals of schools that are doing these things. We did it, and all hell broke loose. I agree, it was not the most perfect of strategies, but we did it because we felt that we had to do something which fundamentally threatened the existence of the country. If students were no longer studying, they would just go and register in one of those peripheral schools where there's no supervision and they have AAs and enter into universities. I am a lecturer. I lecture mercantile law, third year in the law department at Fabe College. I know that some of the scripts that I read, those people ought not to have entered into university in the first place, let alone before they get to third year.
Yeah, Mr. Kaifala, we know the problem. We all know the problem from where we serve. We know this problem, examination malpractice exists. But your strategy, and people, kind of look and say, you believe, say, it was a belief of assumption of guilt, even though you catch the red-handed, but the law, they will say, then therefore go through the process.
No. That was a wrong assumption.
Okay.
Criminals can be, criminals are paraded.
Mm-hmm.
In Nigeria, in several countries of the world, when people are arrested, even in America, when they catch people with drugs, sometimes they parade them. They show them out. They share them on TV before there is a trial. It is not saying that these are the people who are guilty of the offense. It is saying that these are the people who were arrested. So to say that I had already tried them in my own way, no, I did not try them. But because there was a need for a strategy which will send the right message in the population, we introduced those we arrested to say these are the people who were arrested over the weekend. But look at what happened. After we did that, and all hell broke loose. And the president apologized, which is right. The president can apologize. I mean, we are all working in the system. He's head of state, he's the representative of the people. We apologize, and I drop my hat to him that he had the courage to do so. But what happened the next Saturday? It was even worse. We arrested more people the next Saturday. It was more embarrassing what they were doing. Those were teachers, principals, some of them were hiding in freezers. They were running on top of rooftops. They had children in a special house. There was a lot that happened. So what I am saying is this. I am not justifying that what I did was the most appropriate strategy to use. But I'm just saying that a country takes seriously issues of that nature by what the country does about it.
Thank you.
And I think that it was one of those things we could have shocked our conscience for us to take a stronger action against it. So if we cannot say these are the people we arrested over the weekend, then I don't know. To be honest, we'll just arrest them and just process them and send them to court. We'll go back to what has been happening, which the new strategy said we should move away from. We should employ strategies that will send the right message within the population. And what they did not do was to tell us what were these strategies we could use. So the one that we now use to say, if we in Nigeria, when they catch you, they put a placard on your neck. They even put your village, your tribe, your family that you come from, and everything you have done before you get there. And nobody is crying them down because they are trying to solve a serious societal problem. But if, that is why, when I went on radio after the outcry, I said, we have realized that the margin of acceptability of the Sierra Leonean population is low. The margin of acceptability is exactly how people are willing. Once the margin of acceptability for a lot of things was so high that they will kill people for it. Okay? In China, they are caught in the head for corruption.
Yeah.
But in Sierra Leone, our margin of acceptability for even just parading people is so low, I don't know what we can do. And that is why we are taking them to court. And the judiciary, somebody steals 1 billion euros, they fine him 30 million euros. And he walks away after stealing 1 billion euros, after stealing 5 billion euros. These are all things we have to engage on to have a firm conversation on as to what we can do to solve a serious societal problem like corruption that we have in Sierra Leone. So that was it. So I agree with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kaifala.
Professor,
thank you so much, sir. Just a second, Fanima. I go to Mr. Shilon. Before I go to Mr. Shilon, I get an announcement. 4 o'clock, we will open up the line because it's almost like we don't need 1 hour. So, Mr. Shilon, you go ask the other question. And after that, 4 o'clock, we will open the line, even as the conversation continues, because at 1 hour, we don't get. So, back to you, Mr. Shilon, please.
I want to ask Mr. Shilon the question. You know, you're waiting, Mr. Kaifala say on that issue will be happy with it.
Well, we'll get for come back to you.
Let her finish. That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
And we not say America law different. We not say America, slightly different because the people can say when they compare America law to what they call it. We not say you're not practicing attorney in for over 30 years. You're not defense lawyer and all that. But I've been one for know if we get for push democracy before, and Mr. Kaifala don't explain a reason why he used that strategy there. What are your take on this particular issue? If Nayab it been happen, if that kind of stuff they been happen, waiting your take on that, sir?
Well, Mr. Kaifala, the way he explained, he walked a very tight rope. And from a legal standpoint, what he said with reference to how things are done in other countries, including the United States, that may have been done, but not with such explicit way in which it was done. It's true when the police does an arrest, they give access to the media, sometimes to potential defendants, they don't give the media access to interview them, where they expose them sort of. But it's in a America here will say quasi way of doing it. They are exposing it. They are exposing these people, as Mr. Kaifala just explained, but all get to do within the framework of constitutionally protected rights, as well as all due process. So I am in agreement with him that there may not have been violation of the law, or maybe the practice was a little bit such that people may assume or presume that these people were being pronounced guilty before being tried. I understand that, and it's true to some extent. But in explaining the strategy that was put together with the team or the group of people, what I want to know, Mr. Kaifala, in the process, did they also add in that strategy there? Because it looks like the strategy only entailed punitive approach to get a one-time effective way of stopping people, which you and I both know, practically speaking, is impossible. But did they also put in the process constitutional protected rights of the defendant? Because my concern, and everything I know about you, is that you are equally concerned because you're a human rights lawyer, you're a civil rights lawyer, you're a criminal defense attorney, so you are very much aware of the rights of the defendant. Is how dear, when they were putting the strategies together, how dear did they take the rights of the defendant? Because, you know, yes, when you accord that right to the defendant, we protect ourselves, we protect our loved ones, we promote the interests of the Constitution. And running government, it can be very frustrating. Listening to you, I could see you are running into dead ends in many ways, the courts, the investigation approach. But it seems to me that there was, in this strategy you wouldn't develop, I don't think anything was taken into account with respect to the safeguards of the Constitution. Am I right?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. And like you rightly said, of course, the rights of defendants always remain sacrosanct. They do not have to say anything about it because the Constitution has already guaranteed them. Okay, but we all know that there are limitations to every right. Now, in that very Constitution, Section 5, Subsection 6 says that the state shall take all steps necessary to eradicate corruption. That was an unqualified statement put in the Constitution, which nobody talks about. And that is why when the human rights people came, I told them, look at it, it's there. What that tried to do is that corruption was so pervasive by 1991 that they knew that it was crumbling the country. The reason why the drafters of the Constitution put such a strong, unqualified statement that the state shall take all steps. They did not say subject to the human rights of people. They did not say subject to the rights of defendants. They did not say subject to anything. They said the state shall take all steps necessary to eradicate corruption. That very provision is repeated in Section 7, Subsection 1 of the Anti-Corruption Act. Now, to me, this is war. This is something that has destroyed this country for so long. This is something, we have Corona now. There is a state of emergency. People are not moving out as they feel like. In fact, now as I'm sitting here, I'm watching my time because after 11 o'clock, I will not go out. But the same constitution guarantees my freedom of movement. Am I going to say because that guarantee is there, the state cannot take steps to fight Corona? But when it comes to corruption, we do not want to approach it as the deadly disease that it is. So we are ready to come with issues like, oh, the rights. Yes, I have master's degree in comparative constitutional law and human rights from University of Texas at Austin. I studied it. I have practiced human rights law for 13 years. But there are certain things which are so sacrosanct. If you give me the responsibility to fight corruption, if we say, for example, that is why when I went on radio some time ago, I told people that we are not distributing Coke and sandwiches at the Corruption Commission. That is what they do when they arrest people in America. You come to prison, you say, I want a Coke and sandwich, they will have to provide it for you. We are not providing it because we take corruption so seriously. If we are going to fight it, you are not coming to the ACC to tell me that I should give you Coke and sandwich. I will not do it. Does that mean I have violated your right? No. I am merely doing my job because the Constitution says we should take all steps necessary to eradicate corruption. So I am not against those who thought that what happened should not have happened. I am not even against those who said it violated the Constitution. We can always have that debate and argument as we go. But let us understand that this is war. And in wartime, against something which has destroyed the fabric of the country for so long, if we are coming to distribute Coke and sandwiches at the ACC, maybe I should not be there because then I am going to fail. And it is the same people who will come back and say this was a useless commissioner because he did not do the things that he was supposed to do to produce the results for the country. I am asking for the country to understand. When we give people responsibility, let us give them that support. Let us understand that they can be honestly wrong. But if they are doing it for the good of the country, let us give them the support. Fighting corruption is never going to be comfortable in this country. The corruption culture in this country is so endemic that if we do not take drastic steps to send the right message in the population, we are going to come and shadow box and leave and nothing changes. So that is what I can say, Mr. Shillon. The legal points, I'm not arguing with the legal points. The constitutionality, I agree. Every citizen has the right, but rights are limited by other people's rights. I think the biggest violation of the human rights of the people of Sierra Leone has been them being subjected to corruption for so long by the very people they vote in office, by the very people they put confidence.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, what I do, like I said, we don't spend 1 hour on this. The lines then open now, even as we continue and see if we can branch now. The lines and open. As soon as they talk, when calls and come up, we get for point three now and take the calls. So, station, please open all the lines now, for the guests because he has what to do in the next 30 minutes as we talk now question session. Then from 4:30 to 5 o'clock, when the show the end, you guys will come up again with summation, some of those. So the lines are open even as the thing. So back to you, Fatima.
Okay, we don't agree the commissioner explanation, and we know saying a person way really get passion for Salone. And he said not go able to fight corruption in one, everybody get for joining because it's a cancer. And then we see a case where in come out, people they want for know with Sierra Leone brother and sister, and they ask the question. We see a reporter where the incident been happen. He called the chief minister. Saliu Jallo say he want verified and say they don't give money under the table and all that stuff. And I know say you've been getting involved with the Eco Bank and all that in there. You came and make a statement say you don't do the investigation. And people then they say how you go after them past government, but you don't want to go after you present people them because now you don't become part of the corruption and the anti-corruption. Now for the people, they work for the people, and nobody, as you don't say before, there is no sacred cow. I want to explain to the people, let them understand. They want to not be understand for make them get them from you, just a brief what's been happening and why you come to that conclusion there.
Yes, that case now another case we show when people want use the commission as a weapon. You see, there's a situation here. When you are a powerful anti-corruption outfit, the ruling government wants to use you against the opposition, but also the opposition wants to use you against the ruling government, and you have to hold the balance to avoid losing your professionalism, because we are playing our role in a very toxic political environment. Now, in that case, Madam Fadima, this man sent a message to Chief Minister. Chief Minister forwarded the message to me and said, I am being accused of corruption. You are in charge of fighting corruption. I don't know anything about this. Can you look into it? I called the man and tell him, say, Chief Minister don't forward this to you, because he put his number there. He said the Chief Minister should contact him on this number. I called him and said, Chief Minister forwarded this thing to me. I was in Lome, Togo. I said, I am in Lome, but I am coming back over the weekend, because I think I spoke to him on Thursday. I said, can we meet so you come with the evidence you have? I can help you look into this. He insulted me and put the phone off. I came back from Lome. On Monday, the first thing I did was to call the head of EcoBank and say, there is this accusation against the Chief Minister that a bribe of $1.5 million has been paid to him through EcoBank. Can you check your system and confirm whether any payment was made to the Chief Minister at any point? At any point, if it is not 1.5 million, if it is just $10,000, can you? The woman got back to me and said, no, we don't have an account for Chief Minister here. We don't have any transaction that Chief Minister participated in the past 1 year. As a matter of fact, the Chief Minister does not hold an account. I said, are you sure? She said, yes. I said, okay, we have our notices. We have Section 57 notice, which you send out for people to return documents to us. And if you don't do it, there is a strong punishment by law. We did the notice. I sent it to her. She replied in writing to say, Chief Minister does not have account with us. There is no money that has been paid to Chief Minister. On Monday, on Tuesday morning, I went to work. The journalist was on radio saying that the issue of corruption has been reported to me, and I did not do anything about it. And then I called the radio station and said, this man, what he said is not correct. As a matter of fact, I have even gone as far as get to the bank. I have in writing now, as I speak with you, a letter that has come to the bank that the Chief Minister does not have an account there, that the Chief Minister has never had such a transaction there. So I said all what he's saying against us, because he went there saying that I am the blue-eyed boy of the Chief Minister, I am protecting the government and all of this. We did full investigation into the issue. We even put out a statement to say anybody who has anything which supports that 1.5 million, but forget about 1.5 million, any money that is questionable to Chief Minister, please bring it to us. I checked with FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and all of them said that no such transaction has taken place at all. We came out with a statement to say, well, we have looked into this issue, but we have not seen anything. However, this journalist or anybody who knows him or anybody who has information, can you please come with this information so we can look into this? Since then to date, despite the open, that file remains open today as I speak to you. We have not closed the file. Nobody came forward with anything apart from a claim that 1.5 million was paid to the Chief Minister. Where? How? Who received it? Was I going to arrest Chief Minister without any probable cause, without something which I can hold on to? If even it was just an account that shows $100,000 went into it, that is a good probable cause for me to go after the Chief Minister. But nothing apart from a claim from a journalist who insulted me when I called him to ask him. I will be failing in my role if I do such a thing. We have a lot of people, there are accusations against people all the time. Kutubu Koma and myself will always engage on this. He comes to me and says, I see this. I say, yes, myself, I am seeing this accusation. But for us to act on it, there has to be something. So basically, Fadima, there has been nothing. And I am still saying it. Nothing, zero, anywhere about this claim against the Chief Minister. If it comes today before me, I will take steps. But I don't have any reason or anything for me to be able to take steps on. And that is the situation. I am merely standing on the side of the truth. Maybe somebody wants me to stand against the truth. I cannot. That is not how I do my job. I am sorry.
Okay.
So that is the honest truth about this, and that is what happened.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think people on the line we want to call. I mean, anybody on the line, because at before they say those calls, I not see any sign. Anybody there on the line?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kaifala?
Oh,
We're getting. We have.
Who's the call from, sir?
Florence from London.
The kind of break. The break.
We get 50,000 ship of Salone. 50,000 ship of Salone.
So I think you will come back because you break. Call like you break.
Sorry, let me just drink water.
Okay, sir.
You the break actually.
Indeed.
Okay, if we not get, Fadima, you have to pick up on.
Answer the
we not talk about that criminalize the law and all that thing. And also that the wing and come up with that ICN and all that thing. I don't know if now I'm bringing them up.
Hello.
No.
But they are callers on the line.
There are callers on the line.
Okay, caller outside the call from, please. What's your name? Outside the call from.
This is Abdullah. I call from New Jersey.
Yes, sir. Welcome. Yeah, you're on the line, sir. Go ahead.
I think we're having problem with the phone lines.
Caller, you did on the line, sir. What are the question?
Yeah, hello. My name is Carl, and I call from Munich, Germany. I want to tell the commissioner very plenty thank you for the good work. I get a suggestion because the way I see corruption in our country, I think the prevention part, I think we get for double up and for see how we go for fight them. And I suggest say if they go bring corruption as a subject in schools, like secondary school, they teach them as a subject. So by the time somebody to go university, he go down get a kind of a job where he go able for do at least he go he go for help for the fight against corruption as a whole. As short, we want for let corruption be taught in schools as a subject and like a profession. Somebody go graduate, he say, okay, in a corruption officer.
Caller, I will not get time for long explanation. Just a minute more, please.
Yeah.
You can call that to a question now.
I think
that's just a suggestion I have for you. It's not a question.
A very good suggestion, by the way. Prevention is a better.
Any more caller on the line, please? Call that to a question now. Any more caller on the line, please?
Hello. Yes. Hi. My name is Dalanda.
All right. When are the questions? Say the call from, please.
Yes. Well, I just want to ask and say, making name any SLPP member, we don't ever get arrested since this a government scam, either for assault, corruption, rape, because just one example, Josephine Jackson and touch a young boy and he showed a camera and nothing was done, just as Arata, Limande, all the SLPP, people them, okay? And I just want to know which SLPP member don't ever get arrested or prosecuted.
Like in cut out to a minute and ask the question. Get too many people there.
I think they don't ask. I get the question. It's basically saying if there's anybody in the current government we don't.
Yeah, let's take the next call. I'll go three at a time. They'll give me Kaifala time for answer.
Yeah, okay, we get two more. We take two more, and then we bring Mr. Kaifala into this.
Hello.
Yes, try the call from, please.
Yeah, this is my combo. I call from New York. And yeah, my question is that because recently we don't see a press release where they pull about the 49,000 bags of rice will disappear, and also one of the ACC boss in press conference, he talk about when he get the tips, he go to the warehouse where they bag the rice and also all other stuff where he say now the evidence that we get. And also by the press release, he say they'll recover 868 bags of rice. We way far below the 49,000 bags of rice we lost inside the press release. So we question now why, out of all the evidence here, the warehouse, the people that we say they involved with them, they rebag the rest and he go, he meets them and catch them. Then all the evidence here say it lead to the invitation of the former Minister of Education, and also why the courts for watch all the evidence here and he take it snowdy.
Thank you.
Next caller, please.
Yeah, Mr. Kaifala, let's take one more. Let's take one more, and then that's it. Yeah. Any more caller? Would they take one more, and then that's it? Any more caller, please? Any more caller on the line, please?
There is. I can hear him. But...
What?
Hello.
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 Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, you're on the line. Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Can you hear on the line? We hear you.
Yes. Okay. Oh. Okay. I did that. Will you hear me? Eh?
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Down you back.
Hello. You hear me?
What you listen with from?
Yes, Nina. Okay. Yes, I want for. They come in. They talk about. Yeah, about Mr. Ben Kaifala. Yeah, I'm happy for get this opportunity for talk to you today because I've always want to talk to you. I come out to this chief minister in 1.5 million way. I'm not being ever follow, but I see one audio today where somebody talk where they talk say this 1.5 million where they say the minister been take the person where expose this thing here to, then fire them, they sack them in job. That's one. Then secondly, they ask you, say, you know why they fire them? Then secondly, you say when the minister tell you upon you receive the information, the money you from the bank. Mr. Kaifala, I'm sorry, I'm not telling you how to do your job. You get me? But you shouldn't have phoned the bank because these are serious allegations with me. If you've been fair way, if you've been going to that bank where the bank not in notice say you go there, if you have been say you can get some police officers there, some warrant or something that will enable you for going to the bank, you go there without giving them any prior notification. You just go a boss and then you go ask for document because you get so much right over the law. The law you plenty right. Where at the say for be able to go there and able to examine papers and documents. But you give them so much time for letting them do whatever they want for doing at Salone. I'm sorry with respect, you understand? I think you handled it wrongly. That's side. You not be for good.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Kaifala, you want to respond to that quick and then.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, they say when trees fall upon trees,
the next body come in till 5 o'clock.
When trees fall upon trees, the topmost is removed first. So let me take the last one first. She says that the way our modus operandi when it comes to investigations with the bank is that we can call them, particularly when it is urgent, we can call and say, print out that statement now and send them to me. When it is urgent and important, we can do it. I have done it before. Many other commissioners have done it before me. But beyond that, I have said, we send a formal notice, a section 57 notice to them, which is what we do for every account. I am not going to say because now this is a chief minister, I have to, what do they want me to do? Take police officers, go put the bank under siege and say, give me records where something they not even get. They have to check their records. The modus operandi, I don't know if it's something hidden in the bank that I will go and then do a search warrant and search. These are bank transactions. And we are dealing with banks. We are not dealing with people's houses or shops or businesses. So clearly, that caller will last call not understand the investigative powers of the ACC and how we go about our work. Nobody is going to put a bank under siege in the morning and say, give me a record, which you have not even given them an opportunity to search their systems for. That is wrong. It cannot be the way to handle such a situation. The bank have always supported our work and they have always provided us information we ask, irrespective of who is involved. I like that the president in the account I asked for this morning, the bank will provide it to me. So I believe in that and I will continue doing that. The other question we asked now, the person don't be sacked. No, this person will raise this thing, a journalist. Tell you to Janjalo, they work with Artisia Express Media. Nobody has sacked him anywhere. He's not working in any office. He's a journalist. He's still there. So I don't know who said this commo say they sack anybody in an office. No, I'm not aware of it. And if that person they are aware of, I'm let try to reach out to me. You can even go on my Twitter page or my Facebook, send me a message. I'll say it. Give me more details. Maybe I'll know what to do. But I don't think anybody has been victimized because of that. Salit Janjalo is definitely not working in any office. He's a journalist and he still continues to be a journalist. The other question where somebody asked now, whether we don't charge anybody in the current government. Of course we have, many. But when we are talking, it seems people don't pay attention to that. For example, the head of Sierra Leone Maritime Administration was investigated twice by the ACC. One of the situations we recovered from her 800 million euros. She's currently standing trial in court. She was appointed by this government. Those who stole money for the Commission of Inquiry, the Director of Information and the Ministry of Information, we charged them to court, 3 of them, the director, the accountant, and one other person who facilitated. All of them were found guilty within 2 weeks and sentenced by the court. That is already happening. You are talking about the rights investigation. We did not say because it is a minister in the current government. In fact, because of our investigation, he was relieved of his post by the president. So the deputy minister, Emily Gogra, the deputy minister of education, we have been investigating. He was relieved of her post. The permanent secretary, Mr. Tom Kamanda, was relieved of his post. So there are many cases involving people in the current government, which we are either investigating now, or we have investigated, or either charged to court, or we continue to investigate. Even the chief minister's case, we did not say because it's chief minister, it has come to us, we'll do nothing. We investigated. When we investigated, it does not mean that all our investigators always have to come out and say people are guilty. Even in people in the past government, Mr. Yansane, who is Secretary General of the ACC, we investigated him at the ACC, and we came out with a statement and say he committed no crime. The same thing for people in the current government. We can investigate, for example, the state chief of protocol in the presidency. That is the highest form of investigation ever done by the ACC. We went into the presidency and investigated somebody who is actually very close to the president. We came out with a statement at the end of the day after our investigation. So if that person is asking if we are investigating people in the current government, yes, many are under investigation right now, and many will continue to be investigated. That does not mean we will not investigate people in the past. In the past, there were many corrupt people who will continue to investigate them, and when their culpability will come out with a statement to the effect, we know that the 25 billion euros that we have collected, that we have given back to the government, did not come from trees. They came from people in the past and current government. People who came and admitted that, yes, we took government money. It was not Ben Kaifala's money that amounted to 2.5 billion euros. I've never had that kind of money in my entire life. So to say that we are not investigating people in the current government is the biggest untruth.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kaifala.
Lastly, and most importantly, this man made reference to the I don't remember, he made reference to a case that he says that is good. Okay, the rights case, yes. The rights case we withdrew from court. The Attorney General, for the first time in the history of Sierra Leone, wrote to me when we went for trial by Judge Alone Fiat, which he has given. All throughout the ACC has existed. At no time has the ACC gone for trial by Judge Alone and not gotten fiat. I have charged 66 cases to court. All those 66 cases, we have fiat for it to be tried by judge alone. Because we even have a fast-track court that has been established to fight corruption. We put judges there. The role is for our cases to move faster. For the first time in the history, the Attorney General wrote to me and said that she would not give us the fiat for us to try the matter. In the process of trying to navigate our way, trying to convince the Attorney General to give us this fiat, the judge is behind me. She will throw the case out of court. The lawyers are writing letters that we are not moving forward with our case. So strategically, I decided for the lawyers to go and offer. To offer no evidence does not mean there is no evidence. I have to make this clear. When a lawyer goes to court, Mr. Salone here is a lawyer. When you go to court and say, I am offering no evidence, you are not necessarily saying that you don't have evidence. You are basically trying to withdraw the case for now, particularly when there are technical problems like the one we have now, because we are going to go to trial by jury, and I don't believe that jury in Sierra Leone, I'm not saying jury in America, but the jury system in Sierra Leone will do service to anti-corruption cases.
Okay.
So was that?
Yeah, Mr. Kaifala, let your point to and here's what we did. It's 4:30 now. So what I did, I divide the time between them. 10 minutes each. I mean, when you come, that will be your closing submission. Fadima, will start with you.
Mr. Kaifala, I want to get
I mean, like 10 minutes with you now for ask calm and do everything.
Let's do this. Let's do it. With the Timboles case, and you tweet that last week you tweet that following the refusal of the Fed from the former AG for trial by jury alone, which only AG can give into the Timbo case for the first time ever, and considering we don't want trial by jury for corruption cases due to the complexity. That is the word I am trying to get here. You say the complexity of the case. So are you trying to say because you get trials by jury, they get trial by the judge, and I think in the Constitution we get right for choose either or. How then you say because of the complexity? Are you telling us as the common people not understand enough? Because I get a little hold up, and some people get a hold up without what they say. We want for you explain for what do you mean by complexity? Because there are benefits to jurors by trial. There are benefits. People then believe in them paired more than sometimes believe in just one person. Then believe in 12 people for judge the case than one person. So are you saying, is it not the job of the lawyer or the prosecutor for make the case explain unto the layman's term for let the least person where sit down at the jury for understand? So why that statement, sir?
Yes, that is what I said, that anti-corruption cases are complex, that it will be better for a judge who understands the law, particularly anti-corruption laws, to apply the facts to the law and come out with a decision. I am also saying, and that is why when I said I am against juror service, that's why I said I am not saying in the US, but in Sierra Leone, I have tried many cases where jurors were involved. Every day they were in my chambers, coming to discuss the case or asking for money, when they should not do so. I did everything to drive them away. I will be driving along Shakastini Street. They will come and hit my car and tell me that they don't have transport to go home. I should give them transport. Jury, members of the jury in Sierra Leone.
Wow.
If I have responsibility to fight corruption and I want optimal results for the country, knowing that problem with juror prop system in Sierra Leone, sometimes they come to that building, they don't even have transportation to go home. They go to the accused persons to ask for money. They go to the lawyers to ask for money.
Wow.
If I know that and I go and subject anti-corruption cases to jury trial, I will be betraying my own conscience. I will not be true to myself. I am saying juror, I have no problem with juror system. I am a principal advocate for us to maintain the juror system, but it is not working in Sierra Leone. It is for the highest bidder, and for anti-corruption cases where there is a lot of money involved, where people's reputation are involved, where they are ready to do everything for them to walk free. I don't think jury trial is the best approach at this stage. That is why I said I have not said we should not go on with jury trial. Since this is the first time that we have faced this situation, instead of me taking a rule of thumb decision, we have withdrawn the case from court. When we said we are offering no evidence does not mean there is no evidence. We are basically saying at this stage, let's go back and now look at this situation. Let's see whether this system can work. And then we can always come back to court if we think that is what's necessary. That's all what we have done. We have not said that jury should not try the case. But I am not ready at this stage. You see, I said something, I wrote something on Facebook and said, I am like a forester. One tree is sick in the forest. I can cut down that tree and the health of the forest remains perfect. What do I do? Do I allow that tree to get sick and become contagious and contaminate other trees? Because every case that now comes to court, everybody will say they want jury trial because they can always get their way with it. These are things that we have to look at. If we are responsible for fighting corruption, we have to come back to the drawing board, look at the situation, look at the health of the forest, and determine whether this one tree is so important that we should leave it there, or we should cut it now and apply other approaches to it while the forest remains healthy. That is the exact situation we are in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaifala.
And one more, please. One more. I just want to understand something. On your Twitter page again, you said the most important weapon a man or woman can take into a battle is the reason why. Some people don't understand what you mean. Can you just give us a 1 minute summary of that word there? Because I loved it and I made a comment behind it, but I just want to hear.
Yes, I mean, the reason why somebody came to me and said, if I hold AK-47, that is the most important weapon. I said, no. The reason why you decided to take an AK-47 and not a broom, you could have taken a broom to fight. You could have taken a stick to fight, but you chose to take AK-47. It is because of the reason for which you decided to go into that battle in the first place. And I said that because of the fight against corruption. Why are we doing all of this? The reason is Sierra Leone. The reason is to see the good of Sierra Leone. And that is the most important weapon that I have. That is why when people are crying me down, when people are attacking what I do, they say all kinds of things. Yesterday there was an audio insulting my mother, insulting my wife and everybody by Adebayo, who sits down in Holland, who chose to do that. But because I know my reason why I'm doing this, I'm not faced. That is exactly the reason, Madam Fatima.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. That was a little thing there. Everybody was trying to figure out.
Mr. Shilom, you can come in.
Yes, sir.
You may get some legal, things there for discuss. You want help with that?
Well, I just want for
comment. As you do that, you sum up. As a sum up, you sum up now.
Okay. I just want for comment on a few things. Personally, it seems, Mr. Kaifala, we don't expect perfection, not even close, because it's a tough job. Based upon what I've heard, I appreciate the fact that he comes to the media to try to explain positions. We not necessarily get to agree with him on issues, but the fact that he has the courage to come and tell we, from his own perspective, why things are being done the way they are being done and why decisions were reached. I thank him very much for that. But there are some issues I just want to raise on different points. With respect to the drafting of legislations, and statutes, for example, when they say, you quote section 5, you say at the end it was unqualified, that the word all steps can be taken to fight and corruption.
Yes, the state shall take all steps necessary to eradicate corruption, yes.
Well, from my perspective, and as an American lawyer, and I'm trying hard, knowing the battlefront in which you are in Sierra Leone, that may be what has to be done. But the problem we get back home is the fact that we have proclaimed ourselves as a constitutional government, which means it's the supreme law of the land, which means everything will come within the purview of the Constitution. And I fully appreciate the difficulty of your job and what you're going to try to do. But the phrase all steps, in and of itself, you and I will agree that is overly broad, and that I can't see under what circumstance any such phraseology will pass constitutional muster. It's just too wide. All steps, because I mean, so something like that, I would just appreciate if in the future, when some of these legal minds get together, that they try for bring it as best as they can, not to make it so overly broad in my view. The problem in Australia also that I observe, which I think is a mistake, but this is in my humble opinion, unagi original jurisdiction on constitutional issues to the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, yeah.
I find that to be highly, highly unusual. Frankly, not trying to criticize, but I don't even think it's reasonable. It's like putting the cart before the horse, because constitutional rights are attached right from the beginning when one is accused of a crime. To say that issue cannot be raised until it gets to the Supreme Court, and in one of your earlier discussion, you talk about how expensive it is, both to defend these cases and to prosecute them. So now if I'm a defendant and my rights, my constitutional rights were being violated, or have been violated by the police, by my accuser, and I can't even raise that unless my case reaches Supreme Court, which I may not have the wherewithal to take to the Supreme Court. So how? I would just hope, and maybe this involves some intellectual discussion, but it seems like they need to go back and review that. I think in fairness to everyone, constitutional protection should attach right from the time of arrest. You know, a defense attorney should be able to raise the issue whether his client's rights have been violated under the Constitution. And the thing is, as much sympathy as I may have, and appreciation for the difficulty we want to get, but there's something unique about you, about all of us, you guys in particular. You are the people entrusted with the running of the country now. So because of that, it seems to me that you can't find the easy way out. It's going to be tough all over. And what is impressive about what you've been telling us, it is clear to me that even when you leave the ACC, you will have left the ACC better than you met it, without a doubt. Because this, my argument has always been, let's hear about progress. We don't want for no say you eliminate corruption, but we want Ben Kaifala, as you've done so ably in my view, be able for states say, when I come, this, I mean the situation. When I left, this is how far I took matters from point A, not only to point B and C, but I got all the way to O. So whoever takes after you, that's what progress is all about. So in that respect, I hope the broad phraseologies they want to put on the statutes, all steps, you have to, if you get a constitution, you got to qualify statements. Because if I win here, you attack down on vagueness, on broadness, and on so many grounds. That's one. Two, I'm listening to you about the bank. The lady will call and talk about, say you were wrong, you should not have called the bank. I just want to know, the ACC should have subpoena powers. So when you say you call, why would you have to call? Because you forget subpoena powers and subpoena certain records, and you have to, I'm sure you have your investigative team that you should report the matter to. I don't think, and trust me, I have the utmost respect for you, so don't take this as a criticism. But I think when you have the top man having to do the investigation himself, that procedure, there's something wrong with it. Because I think when you get that information, it should have been passed on to your chief investigator. And you, with your knowledge, will tell and say, let we issue a subpoena, or maybe we don't even need to issue a subpoena. Let's do some investigation. And sometimes it may not be right away because you may have to do it in a subtle way for them not to know you were investigating. I would have thought that would be a proper approach. Now, when I talk about Waterkey, well, one of the things, Waterkey is always a tough challenge. But I think Waterkey, what can be done? You are not going to succeed at Waterkey or at crimes or solving corruption whatsoever without having, number one, informants. You have to have informants. You have to have undercover agents. If you don't have those, then something is missing. You will never get to even halfway in solving corruption because people have to be deceived. There have to be people within criminal organization who pass information to the authority. So, and the last question I wanted to ask, maybe it's a question or it's a comment. To what extent does the CID work with your investigative team to be able to accomplish any kind of corruption investigation you wanted to do? Do you all work together or you have your own separate investigative team? And if you do you have sufficient investigators to pursue a particular case? Because if information is brought to you, you have to allocate sufficient number and funds to a particular case depending on your assessment of the case to be able to even make a meaningful dent on it. Because if you send one investigator on a matter that should have had 10, you're not going anywhere. So I'm just curious, do you have your own separate investigators or do you?
Let me take it. As always, I like to take the last question first.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we have separate mandates, we have separate responsibilities, but we collaborate. So where there is a need, for example, there are times where we may need handwriting experts to examine certain handwriting that have been denied, signatures that have been denied. We go to the CID and we provide personnel to work with us. Areas of collaboration are there, but we have respective mandates. And of course, you have to understand corruption is also, investigating corruption is of such a nature that it requires special training, it requires special protection of the investigation. So we prefer sometimes to do it ourselves or collaborate with various institutions like the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit, the CID. We can collaborate with the General Police, can collaborate with various institutions, the Office of National Security, the CISU, all those ones work with us. It depends on the special situation. So that's all I can say for that. On the other issues you raised, constitutional issues are usually, they always have their own debates around it. And of course, you are right. In fact, when that issue happened, I believe many people were not aware of this provision in the Constitution. So when for the first time, because many people were saying the issue of corruption was, they came and said that what we were doing was so unconstitutional. I said, what are you saying is unconstitutional when the Constitution provides for the fight against corruption? So it's a question of the rubrics around it. But yes, the provision is wide. It says the state shall take all steps necessary to eradicate corruption without more. And as you know, I mean, you are a lawyer in the US. I study constitutional law in the US. There is a clause, those types of clauses, there's what we call the necessary and proper clause, which I'm sure you are aware of. And that is the necessary and proper clause which expands Congress mandate. That is why in the US Congress is so powerful, because the same way how this provision is so broad, that is the same way that clause that gives Congress power in the US is so broad. Basically says Congress can do anything. So necessary and proper clauses give the institution a certain degree of discretion to determine what is necessary and proper in the circumstances. Most times they are deliberate because they don't want to tie their hands. If you are fighting corruption in a dynamic society, your hands cannot be tied. You have to have that degree of freedom to take steps and actions that are necessary and proper to bring about results. But like I said, these are constitutional arguments which I believe we cannot have now. These are things we can always engage on the side and discuss. We lawyers always agree to disagree sometimes, but most times we agree on some of these things. But I agree with you, the drafting of provisions in our constitution, that's why some of us have always been calling Before I became commissioner, I was an activist. And an activist, as a constitutional activist, I was always calling for a review of the constitution for us to be able to try to put certain safeguards in place around most of these onerous or sometimes broad terms that are there. So I'm sure that addresses the issues that you raised. I don't know whether there's any particular one which I left out.
Yeah, what about the original jurisdiction of the Supreme
Court? The chief minister, which you said, the calling of we have the subpoena. That's why I said we sent a section 57 notice. There are two notices we sent. There's a 56 notice which calls people to come and be witnesses. Section 57 says bring documents. We did in this situation. But when you are leading an institution like I am, I did not call just anybody. This is the managing director at that level. Even when my staff are investigating, there are certain people, when they want to get to them for things to move fast, they'll come to me and say, Commissioner, do you call this person? Because we are talking about the managing director of a bank. If a lower grade staff calls her, she's not going to respond. She's not going to do what has to be done. And like I said, we wanted, because this was so topical, it was a public interest issue, we wanted things to be done fast. For us to know whether even preliminarily there was something to go by. Because we're already being accused of not doing anything against people in the current government. So we saw this as an opportunity for us to take steps. And so when I called, it was not saying that we will not use our subpoena powers, but it's for things to move fast. Sometimes before these notices come, I even called the person and said, we are sending a section 57 notice to you. Please, we need that document within 2 hours. It makes things to become more fluid. We are not robots. We have to take steps to make sure that things move faster. So that's basically what happened. I did not just call because I wanted to call or call on any investigation. This one was so significant and important that when that notice came, we wanted the information to come quickly. And that is why that is what helped us. Because if I had not had that written reply from the bank that day, sometimes these things come 3 days, 4 days, 5 days after. But if I had not had that written reply that morning, that journalist was going to destroy the reputation of the ACC. Because he started saying that we decided not to do anything. So when I called, I said, I have the letter with me. And the letter was with me by the morning when he was making the call. So I hope we understand these things, and that is why I had to intervene that way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaifala. Now, we timed up. So we start off with closing remarks. I go to Fadima for closing remarks. And then we guest. And then finally, Mr. Salone. So to you, Fadima, for closing remarks.
Yes, we want for again tell Mr. Kaifala thank you, and we know say don't do 2 years in the office, and we all go say he don't do a good job so far. You know, some people go dissatisfied, but you can't give explanation of the question the way beaucoup Salone people and they ask. I hope that they go satisfy a lot of where they ask them question a day. And I wish you nothing but luck, because I know you say corruption will fight back, and we know say. You they do what you they do, and the people them, as you say, you don't put in place the 3 P's, make a column, for prevention, prosecution, and the public education, because we forget the people they are aware, say corruption. If we do waiting, we all they complain, we all bring account to the attention, and you go do something about it. But then again, we want make you give the people the assurance, say where they come for can they complain, or when they come for can talk, or when they be a whistleblower, we not go able for protect them, because we know Salone people and afraid, and sometimes then we get the attitude where people they can't talk waiting happen because they're afraid of waiting and go do them, because we don't see them can take people then go lock them up. We don't see them for different administration, then different governments them. So we Salone people them, with the education, I wish you nothing but luck. And I just want to ask one question as I go. With the passion you have, with the drive you have, I know with the grace of God, will you one day run for president of Sierra Leone? Because
this will give you trouble.
I say one day. I did not say now, one day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nothing will
for now, I just think and say there is a time for everything. For now, I focus on the fight against corruption. I focus on supporting the current government to succeed in their promise to fight corruption, and that is why I'm focused. Whatsoever comes for the future, that is the future. We leave it in the hands of God. Thank you very much for that question.
Thank you, sir.
Is that it? Fadima, you don't?
Yeah, I don't done, and just thank you to the viewers. Thank you for watching. See you all next week. Social media review.
Okay. Now, what should we do? We get the calm, take leave of we now. Mr. Kaifala, you argue you close the remarks for take leave of we?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Well, as always, I appreciate this. I mean, even for do this, a lot of people that reach me when I put out the flyer. No, do I? No good, they not talk. Why are you talking to these people? For me, believe say the fight against corruption are all better. And sometimes it is good for people and for a first hand. What are the thoughts behind the actions that they see? Sometimes they will need clarification. Sometimes they go on for nobody happen, but sometimes they just want to hear from you. And I think I say this platform that they provide, they go far and wide. And all I can tell the people of Sierra Leone, whether they did in the diaspora, whether they did here in Sierra Leone, that let them understand saying that effort will all they put in. May not be perfect. It may have questions. It's a very difficult challenge. Corruption has crippled this country for so long. But the need for support, good effort. The reward for the fight against corruption is the effort, sometimes not the result. Although, as I tell you at the beginning of this program, the results are massive. They are there. They are self-explanatory. Nobody can argue against the statistics we don't produce within them 2 years there, whether globally or locally. But me, they just call on the people of Sierra Leone, wherever they are, for continuing for support me. We not expect for me to praise you all the time. We not expect for me to praise Kaifala. No, have your criticisms. Challenge what I do. But let us all understand, say, an effort they try for putting, and we do them for the good of Sierra Leone. So even when they criticize, for example, the one that they cause me mama, that goes beyond criticism. But I still take up say, now the job of the people who they do, and like Fadima rightly asked me, the best weapon to take into a battle is the reason why. I have my reasons, and nothing can stop me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Shilon, you argue closing remarks?
Oh, yes, very briefly, just to thank the Honorable Commissioner for what I would consider, although it's not part of my job, for praise them, but you therefore give credit where credit is due. Part of one of the parts or factors of a democracy is accountability. The fact that he has enough confidence in himself to accept the invitation and to come here and explain that in and of itself. I give him kudos for that, because this is what most of us really require, because we're going to hear all kinds of things, accusations, this and that. So when he comes on the show like today, explain certain things, and he's not running for an office, so he doesn't have to convince all of us. But at least Mr. Kaifala is going to leave this show, leaving us far more informed on what the ACC does than when it became. I have gathered more information, I've known more about the man, and I've known more about the work. And so with that in mind, I think I will hope we will see more government officials, top government officials, to come and explain certain things to us as to some of the doubts or the information that we would get. So with that, I thank you very much, Mr. Kaifala. I wish you the best of luck. And I'm impressed with you answer what you give Madam Fadima. That's the way an astute politician or future politician will answer the question. Basically saying I'll cross that bridge when I get to it, but I'm not thinking about that now. Right now, I'm occupied with the job where I get. So that was a good answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, what I want to do now for consolidate everything to context and
so I can leave now, not so?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been here today. Mr. Kaifala, I want to thank you very much.
Coffee order, get for go.
Yeah, Mr. Kaifala, I want to thank you very much for taking your time for honor we, and let God bless you for this. I mean, from time to time, we will look out to you. So on behalf of all of my colleagues and our viewers, I want to thank you very much, all the audience and everybody. Until next Sunday, we will come up with social media review. You guys get a very safe night.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you, sir.